So today, we're going to dive into one of the most misunderstood words in all of mental health. And we're doing it through the lens of Nathan Filer's incredible book, The Heartland. What's so amazing about this is that Filer isn't just a writer. He was also a mental health nurse. So he brings this really powerful, deeply human perspective to a subject that can feel so clinical.
Right out of the gate, the book hits you with this question. Just let that sink in for a second. Do I have to beg you? It's a question that just hangs there, you know? It's so full of desperation, but also dignity. It's a plea that makes you stop and listen and really try to understand the person behind the words.
And here's the context. The man speaking is Amit, and he's about to be forcibly injected with medication by a team of nurses. And one of those nurses is the author, Nathan Filer. See, Amit truly believes the medicine is poison. But from the hospital's point of view, they're just treating an illness. For Amit, though, this is an act of violence, and his question just cuts through all the medical jargon right to the human heart of the situation.
That moment with Amit, that's the perfect setup for everything we're going to talk about. Because this is all about language. It's about the words we use, the labels we stick on people, and the unbelievable, life-changing power those words actually hold.
So the author asks us to do something kind of simple, and I'll ask you too. Just say the word schizophrenia out loud. What does it feel like? What images or feelings pop into your head? Because really, before we can even begin to understand the experience, we have to deal with all the baggage that comes packed inside that single word. Filer says that whole lives have literally disappeared beneath it.
Okay, so let's look at a real-life story to see how one word, just one word on a medical chart can feel like a final verdict on someone's entire future.
This is Erica. She had a career going for her. She was paying her own way. She was in a relationship. She was living her life. But then came the diagnosis, and it threatened to just swallow up everything she was and everything she ever hoped she could be. And the effect of this language on her was immediate. When Erica saw the word psychotic written in her own medical notes, her mind didn't go to her own experience. No, it jumped straight to this scary media-driven stereotype. And she started to wonder, am I a bad person? Am I capable of hurting someone? All because of that one word.
And this, right here, is the real-world cost of stigma. That diagnosis wasn't just some clinical term. For Erica, it was like a prophecy of a future without love, without a career, without ever being on her own again. It was a story told about her that she started to believe was true herself.
All right, this takes us to a really fascinating and much more complex idea. In psychiatry, there's this big focus on something called insight. But what if what we call a lack of insight is actually something else? Maybe a kind of defense mechanism.
So here's the textbook definition. Put simply, having good insight means you agree with the doctors. You agree that you're sick. Lacking insight means you don't. And that's often just seen as another symptom that needs to be treated. But is it really that black and white?
Well, the radical psychiatrist Artie Lang saw it completely differently. He basically flipped the whole idea on its head. He suggested that maybe what we call psychosis isn't just a brain malfunction. Maybe it's a perfectly logical, even brilliant response to a situation that is completely unbearable, a survival strategy.
Just think about Anne Dines. Back in the 1850s, she was put in a hospital for being insane because she believed she was the queen. She was suffering from a broken heart, feeling completely worthless. So, was her crown of twigs just a symptom? Or was it her way of finding some sense of power and meaning in a world that had left her feeling like she had nothing?
Okay, so let's shift gears. What happens after a psychotic episode? When the world starts to look familiar again and you're left to sort through the wreckage of an experience that felt 100% real, but now it's gone.
This quote from a soldier Filer interviewed just captures that feeling of betrayal perfectly. Imagine that. One moment you believe you're on a mission that will change the world. The next, someone tells you it was all an illusion, just a chemical glitch in your brain. You'd feel completely cheated.
And that realization leaves behind this huge void, a massive question mark. So naturally, a desperate search for meaning begins. The human brain just craves a story, a reason why. Why me? What was the point of it all? And trying to answer that question is a huge part of the journey back.
So, from Amit begging not to be injected, to Erica's fears for her future, to Anne's crown of twigs, and the soldier's search for a why, you start to see a common thread, right? It all comes back to looking past the label and trying to see the person.
And this is it. This is the ultimate takeaway from Filer's book. It's so simple, but so profound. Behind every single diagnosis, every symptom, every argument, there is a human story. There's a person trying to make sense of their world, just like you and just like me.
We started all this with a question, remember? I asked you what the word schizophrenia brings to mind. Well, I'm going to leave you with that same question now. After hearing these stories, has your perspective shifted at all? Does the word feel any different? Maybe a little less like a scary label and a little more like a person?
The conversation, as Nathan Filer would say, is really just beginning. And by listening to these stories, we can start to find the true heartland of this experience. Thanks for joining me on this one.